This building is the Orsanmichele, which used to be, in its loggia, which is inside, the grain market of Florence. And it ultimately was converted to a church. And the Signori, which, if I'm pronouncing it right, which is the government, gave to the guilds the right to fill one of these niches with a sculpture indicating their guild. And many of the great artists, Ghiberti, Donatello, I think Masaccio, all contributed to this, and I'll look at this in greater detail on another day. Seen from the west side, when I pan to this building, I have no idea what it is yet, but certainly classical in design. Notice that device there for holding the building together, and further up, fittings that held perhaps lamps. And what that crenellated top is for, I don't know. Certainly this relief has significance, which hopefully I'll fathom. Ensconced behind this beautiful doorway is some kind of medieval art. Can't make it out closely, but it refers to the Florentine school of the 14th century. Looks like some kind of an altarpiece, perhaps. And notice tucked away in oblivion back there on the wall, Madonna and Child. Now panning to the side, notice a classic little lantern. I love this kind of architectural woodwork. I think this is reminiscent of the design on the inside of the Pantheon in Rome, in its dome. Again, I'm just passing by, so I'm not going to make much comment on this exterior of Orsanmichele, except that hopefully we'll come back and look closer at each of these niches, since they are important. Much of the statuary, I believe, that we see are copies, and the originals are upstairs in a museum being restored. Now we're looking at the south face, and notice those, what look like ports up above. Some of them have been painted, but some of them, as we'll see up at the end there, are reliefs. And now we'll continue further south on Via del Cassaiola, as I think I picked up from a lady who tried to help me pronounce it. Again, in almost every direction, we see what looks like artifacts of the past. And the joke reminded of Shakespeare's plays, where some person commented they thought they were great, but they were filled with so many quotes. Interesting little ancient lock structure, or at least old. I don't know that it's ancient. Okay, we're now in the Piazza della Signoria. Signoria was the name of the government, and the Uffizi, which I think is right there, is means in Italian offices. And it was in this square that about 8 or 9 years ago, when I took the 6 kids to Europe with the 2 or 4 students, that I felt completely lost, had no clue where I was in the world, except I knew I was in Italy. Had no clue whether it was Florence or any other place, until I wandered over somewhere about here in a little bit of a panic, looked down the street and saw one of my students in what was then a horde of people, easily 3 times what there is now. This is a view of the inner courtyard of the Uffizi, where you get your tickets. That's the Palazzo Vecchio. And there are statues commemorating famous individuals, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and down there the Arno River. And the other end, the south end, looking out to the Arno River. And to our right is Ponte Vecchio, and Machiavelli in a appropriate facial expression. Might be an interesting place to live. And coming into view, Ponte Vecchio. What's interesting here are the 2 different kinds of stone. This outer shawl carved and then apparently placed over it and secured. The hairdress, elaborate, complex, indicates high, powerful woman from probably Hadrian's court, if not his sister. The face of Lorenzo Medici, Lorenzo il Magnifico, is very distinctive. The coat of arms of the Medici family, again with the 6 pills. Notice the one in the center, so elaborate. Consider the skill of creating that kind of a neck place out of stone. And how curious, you'd think the man looking at this would think of himself as having been swallowed by his own airpiece. Just some more of these big steel fittings or iron fittings for holding horses and carriages. This happens to be on the Palazzo Vecchio next to Uffizi Museum. I'll just pan slowly around the Palazzo del Signori. That is the statue of Cosimo I, one of the top patriarchs of the Medici family. I'll come back to this statuary in a bit. Palazzo Vecchio. And behind there stands a large copy of the statue of David that's in the Accademia. So we'll go take a little bit closer look at these. Just to the right of this statue, which has been here since the get-go, is the Fountain of Neptune. Here the god Neptune in profile, being hauled in his watery chariot by horses. Probably somewhere you could read extensively about these particular statues, why that egg-like, or what that egg-like thing is there. Good shot of the horses. We'll focus in a little bit on Neptune.